This is Macargo, a fire rock type Pokemon. Its body can reach up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, and this is not my organism. Sort of.
This is the Chrysomallon Squamiferum, also known as the scaly-foot gastropod, and it lives in one of the most extreme environments on planet Earth. Now, the reason why I picked C. Squamiferum as my organism topic is a unique one. This is a simple diagram of its shell, and you can see that it has 3 layers. And this in my hand are a pair of Kai Anta 1s in the Sacred Bond colorway. You see, I'm somewhat of a basketball shoe collector and have interest in biomaterial research. My goal is to be able to connect my curiosity about biology and biomaterials into the engineering of basketball shoes. And I'm currently working on an experiment where I create a midsole and outsole structure derived from the design of C. Squamiferum's shell layers. This design will hopefully demonstrate damage arrest and increase longevity of its materials. It may sound absolutely crazy, and that's because it is, but it is not impossible, and my one goal is to prove that. Now, back to the acquaintance with Chrysomallon Squamiferum. Now this here is a 3D tomographic reconstruction of C. squamiferum's anatomy. The mantle and foot are rendered transparent, while the ctenidium, anterior esophagus, esophageal gland, and digestive gland are semi-transparent to allow clear representation of the gastropod's organs. These are transverse semi-thin sections which are essentially thinly sliced layers displaying the cross-section of the gastropod. Now this right here, these are deep-sea hydrothermal vents, which have fluids that can reach over 400 degrees Celsius. The deep-sea hydrothermal vent sites where C. squamiferum are observed are clustered in the Indian Ocean at these locations. Although its anatomical structure is very similar to most marine snails, there are some clear physical differences as well as some less obvious variances in anatomy. Upon its discovery in 2001, C. squamiferum is the only known snail to have iron-covered scales along its foot. And unlike most other snails, it doesn't graze. Instead, it gains its sustenance from symbiotic bacteria, which will be covered later in this presentation. As for its habitat, it continues to stand out as being one of the most extreme on the planet, as beyond its temperature, it also exists in complete darkness due to its location deep under the sea. The esophageal gland is the most distinctive and important organ of C. squamiferum. It depends primarily on chemosynthetic bacteria to live inside this greatly enlarged organ. This bacteria takes the chemicals released from hydrothermal vents, such as hydrogen sulfide, to produce organic compounds through chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis is how the majority of the snail's nutrition is produced. Because of this relationship, the esophageal gland occupies a much larger portion of the body than it does than other gastropods. The snail transports oxygen and hydrogen sulfide to the bacteria through its circulatory system. The symbiotic bacteria take the chemicals and perform chemosynthesis. In return, the bacteria supply nutrients that support the snail's growth, maintenance, and reproduction. This is a mutually beneficial partnership that allows C. squamiferum to survive in an environment where sunlight is unable to reach, which means photosynthesis is impossible. Without its enlarged esophageal gland and its bacterial symbionts, the scaly-foot gastropod will be unable to survive around these hydrothermal vents. Next, we have the heart of Chrysomallon squamiferum. As shown in the diagram, the upper chamber is labeled A is the auricle, where the lower chamber labeled V is the ventricle. The auricle receives oxygen-rich blood from the gills after gas exchange and passes it into the ventricle. The ventricle is the heart's main pumping chamber, using its muscular walls to circulate oxygenated blood throughout the body. Like the hearts of other gastropods, it transports oxygen and nutrients to tissues while removing metabolic waste products. However, C. squamiferum has a relatively large and efficient circulatory system because it must deliver both oxygen and hydrogen sulfide to the chemosynthetic bacteria living within its enlarged esophageal gland, which we looked at previously. This bacteria uses the chemicals to produce nutrients through chemosynthesis, providing the snail with most of its energy. The heart works continuously to circulate blood between the gills, where oxygen is absorbed, and the rest of the body, ensuring that both the snail and its bacterial symbionts receive the resources they need. The efficient circulation is especially important in hydrothermal vent habitats where oxygen levels are low and environmental conditions change rapidly. Together, the auricle and the ventricle enable a snail to survive and thrive in one of Earth's most extreme environments. What we're going to talk about next are the gills, also called Satanidia. They are responsible for the respiration and play an important role in supporting the snail's bacterial symbionts. Located inside the mantle cavity, the gills contain numerous thin filaments that greatly increase the surface area for gas exchange. As seawater flows across these filaments, oxygen diffuses the blood, while carbon dioxide diffuses out. In Chrysomallon Squamiferum, the gills also help absorb chemicals from the surrounding vent water that are needed by the bacteria living in the esophageal gland. Oxygen-rich blood leaving the gills is transported by the circulatory system to the rest of the body and the bacterial community. Because the hydrothermal vent waters contain both toxic chemicals and fluctuating oxygen levels, the gills must function efficiently under extreme conditions. Their ability to continuously extract oxygen from deep sea water allows the snail and its symbiotic bacteria to survive where many other organisms cannot. The gills therefore serve as a vital connection between the external environments and the snail's internal biological processes. The opening right here is the mouth. The mouth of C. Squamiferum is located at the front of the body and contains a radula, a ribbon-like feeding structure covered in rows of microscopic chitinous teeth. In most snails, the radula is one of the primary feeding organs and is used extensively to scrape algae, bacteria, biofilms, and other food particles from rocks and other surfaces through grazing. Although the scaly-foot gastropod retains this specialized feeding structure, it relies on it much less than other gastropods because the majority of its nutrition is provided by chemosynthetic bacteria living inside the enlarged esophageal gland. These bacteria convert chemicals from hydrothermal vents into organic nutrients to sustain a snail. However, the radula still plays an important supporting role by allowing the snail to consume small particles, microorganisms, and organic matter when they are available, providing a supplemental nutrition. Powerful muscles surrounding the mouth move the radula back and forth in a rasping motion to collect food, which they transport through the esophagus to the digestive system. Retaining this feeding apparatus gives C. Squamiferum greater flexibility if bacterial nutrient production temporarily declines or environmental conditions change, such as oxygen levels. The presence of the radula also demonstrates that despite its remarkable adaptations to hydrothermal vent ecosystems, the species still shares many fundamental anatomical characteristics with other gastropods and marine snails, and it has retained the ability to feed conventionally when necessary. Labeled as OE, here in black is the esophagus. The esophagus of C. Squamiferum is a muscular tube that connects the mouth to the stomach, allowing food to move efficiently through the digestive system. After food is collected by the mouth and rasped with the radula, it is pushed to the esophagus by rhythmic waves of muscular contractions known as peristalsis. In the species, the esophagus runs alongside the greatly enlarged esophageal gland, which contains billions of chemosynthetic bacteria. These bacteria convert chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide from hydrothermal vents into organic nutrients, providing the majority of the snail's energy. Because of the unique nutritional strategy, the esophagus plays a smaller role in food transport than it does than most other gastropods, which rely primarily on grazing or scavenging for nourishment. Nevertheless, it remains an essential part of the digestive system by ensuring that any ingested food reaches the stomach for further digestion and nutrient extraction. The close association between the esophagus and the enlarged bacterial gland also highlights the important evolutionary adaptation that allows both structures to function together efficiently by maintaining the ability to transport food while supporting the specialized esophagus gland. This esophagus preserves the snail's ancestral feeding mechanisms while complementing its remarkable dependence on chemosynthetic symbiosis, enabling Chrysomallon Squamiferum to thrive in harsh conditions of the deep sea hydrothermal vent ecosystems. Following the track of food, the stomach of C. Squamiferum is the primary organ responsible for digesting food that enters the digestive tract. After food passes through the esophagus, it enters the stomach, where muscular contractions and digestive enzymes work together to break it down into smaller molecules that can later be absorbed by the intestine. Although the stomach functions like that of other gastropods, it is relatively reduced because the scaly-foot gastropod obtains most of its nutrition from chemosynthetic bacteria housed within its enlarged esophageal gland, rather than from conventional feeding. As a result, the stomach processes smaller amounts of ingested material than those of grazing snails. Despite the reduced role, it remains an important organ because it enables the snail to digest particulate organic material, microorganisms, or detritus collected with the radula, whenever these resources are available. This supplemental feeding provides an additional source of nutrients if bacteria's productivity temporarily decreases or environmental conditions become less favorable. The stomach also prepares partially digested food for the intestine by mechanically mixing and chemically digesting it before it continues through the digestive tract. By remaining a functional stomach, C. Squamiferum preserves an important ancestral characteristic of gastropods while maintaining the flexibility to utilize multiple food sources in the unpredictable environment surrounding the deep sea hydrothermal vents. The intestine of C. Squamiferum is responsible for completing digestion, absorbing nutrients, and transporting waste material towards excretion. After partially digested food leaves the stomach, it enters the intestine, where digestive enzymes continue breaking down the organic molecules into forms that can be absorbed through the intestinal lining. Specialized epithelial cells lining the intestine efficiently transfer nutrients into the bloodstream, allowing them to be distributed throughout the body. Compared with many other gastropods, however, the intestine of the scaly-foot gastropod is much smaller and less active because most of the animal's nutritional requirements are met by, you guessed it, chemosynthetic bacteria living inside the enlarged esophageal gland. Nevertheless, the intestine remains a vital component of the digestive system by processing any food collected through the mouth and radula. It also compacts indigestible material into waste before eliminating from the body. Maintaining a complete and functional intestine provides the snail with an important backup source of nutrition, allowing it to supplement its diet whenever organic material is available. This flexibility increases the animal's resilience in hydrothermal vent ecosystems, where environmental conditions and bacterial productivity can fluctuate. Although secondary to bacterial nutrition, the intestine continues to play a valuable role in digestion, nutrient absorption, waste processing, and the maintaining of the overall health of the organism. Now this up here is the kidney, also known as the nephridium. It is the primary excretory organ of the C. Squamiferum, and it plays an essential role in maintaining the snail's internal balance. Its primary function is to filter nitrogenous waste products from the blood while regulating the concentrations of water, salts, and dissolved ions within the body. This process is especially important because hydrothermal vent environments contain unusually high concentrations of minerals and rapidly changing chemical conditions that could disrupt the normal cellular function. Blood-carrying metabolite waste enters the kidney, where filtration removes the harmful compounds, while useful substances such as water and important ions are selectively reabsorbed before waste is expelled from the body. The kidney also helps prevent toxic chemicals from accumulating inside the snail's tissues, ensuring the snail's cells continue functioning efficiently despite the chemically challenging environment. Because C. squamiferum has an active metabolism supported by chemosynthetic bacteria, effective waste removal is necessary for both the snail and its bacterial symbionts to remain healthy. The kidney works closely with the circulatory system to maintain stable internal conditions, a process known as homeostasis. Without the constant regulation, metabolite waste and chemical imbalances would interfere with normal physiological processes, reducing the snail's ability to survive in the extreme conditions of deep-sea hydrothermal vent ecosystems. This system right here is the gonad. The gonad is the reproductive organ of C. squamiferum and is responsible for producing gametes, either eggs or sperm, depending on the individual. Like most marine gastropods, the scaly-foot gastropod reproduces sexually, making the gonad essential for the continuation of the species. Within the gonad, specialized reproductive cells undergo meiosis to produce genetically unique gametes, increasing genetic diversity among offspring and improving the species' ability to adapt to the changing environmental conditions. During the breeding season, mature gametes are released into the surrounding seawater, where external fertilization is believed to occur. Successful reproduction presents a significant challenge because hydrothermal vent habitats are isolated, short-lived, and widely separated across the ocean floor. As a result, offspring must survive as larvae and eventually locate to another suitable vent system to establish a new population. The gonad requires substantial amounts of energy to produce healthy, productive cells. And much of this energy comes from the nutrients supplied by the snail's chemosynthetic bacterial symbionts. By converting chemical energy into reproductive success, the gonad directly links the snail's remarkable nutritional strategy with long-term survival. Healthy reproductive organs are therefore critical for maintaining the populations of C. squamiferum in one of Earth's most extreme and unstable marine environments. Now, what this beautiful shade of fuchsia is showing is the nervous system. The nervous system of C. Squamiferum consists of several interconnected ganglia, or clusters of nerve cells, joined by nerve cords that coordinate the body's activities. Unlike vertebrates, the scaly-foot gastropod does not possess a single centralized brain. Instead, different ganglia specialize in controlling movement, feeding, sensation, and the function of internal organs. Nerves extend throughout the body, carrying electrical signals that allow muscles to contract, organs to communicate, and body systems to work together efficiently. Sensory receptors located throughout the body detect changes in temperature, water chemistry, touch, and other environmental conditions. These sensory signals are especially important because hydrothermal vent ecosystems are highly unstable with rapid changes in temperature and concentrations of dissolved chemicals. The nervous system processes this information and coordinates the responses that help the snail remain within safe areas while avoiding conditions that could damage the tissues or disrupt its symbiotic bacteria. It also regulates essential involuntary functions such as circulation, respiration, digestion, and muscle movement by communicating with the heart, gills, digestive system, and foot. You're breathing manually now. Through the continuous coordination of sensory input and physiological responses, the nervous system enables C. Squamiferum to function efficiently and survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth.